Hello, I'm Derek Dohren, and today I'm going to read and review my poem Isabel. Isabel. A girl I had recently been teaching got on my bus. I tried to catch her eye as she came down the aisle, only to realise at the last moment it wasn't her. It was just someone who looked uncannily like her. Her name was Isabel. Or rather, it wasn't Isabel. Well, it may well have been Isabel, but not the Isabel I thought it was. And after that it seemed that everywhere I went I would see girls who weren't Isabel. But though girls who weren't Isabel were everywhere, I always felt the girl who got on the bus that day was the best at being the girl who wasn't Isabel. And for a while after that first sighting, she got on my bus every morning. One day, while sitting a few seats behind the girl who wasn't Isabel, I glanced out of the window and saw another girl who wasn't Isabel. It was the first time I'd ever seen two of them at the same time, and it threw me a little. But the second girl really was Isabel. She was walking along the avenue with a friend, and curiously, her friend didn't look anything like her. Momentarily, as the bus went past, the three of us formed a perfect equilateral triangle. The girl who was Isabel, the girl who wasn't Isabel, and me. And that was the last time I ever saw the girl who was Isabel. I never saw the girl who wasn't Isabel again either. Indeed, I never saw any more girls that weren't Isabel. The non-sightings happened on the bus, the avenues, everywhere. Perhaps that weird triangle thing had settled something in the universe. And then one morning, another girl got on the bus. At first, I thought it was the girl who wasn't Isabel, but it wasn't. It was a new girl, the girl who wasn't the girl who wasn't Isabel. Was I going to start seeing loads of other girls who didn't look like the girl who was Isabel, and who didn't look like the girl who wasn't Isabel, but who looked like the girl who wasn't the girl who wasn't Isabel? Or was I not? And heaven forbid, if either the girl who was Isabel or the girl who wasn't Isabel turned up again, it would all get very messy. If the girl who was Isabel, the girl who wasn't Isabel, and the girl who wasn't Isabel all ended up on the bus at the same time with me, what would happen then? How would four of us form an equilateral triangle? It all made me wonder if anyone had ever looked at me and thought I was someone else and not me. I knew I wasn't the man who looked like Isabel, yet I may well have been known to someone who looked a bit like Isabel but who wasn't Isabel as the man who wasn't Joe, or the man who wasn't the man who wasn't Joe, or worse still, the bloke on the bus who didn't know who he was but who knew he wasn't Isabel. I considered walking into the city from then on. I'd still take a very similar route, not the exact bus route, but the route that looked like the bus route but wasn't. Should I have seen the girl who was Isabel, I would have confronted her, got it all out in the open. She was the one who started all this. I'd have asked her what she thought she was playing at, and who the hell did she think I was, and what did she know about geometry, and did it freak her out that so many girls looked like her, except her friend. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the silliness that was Isabel. I'd like to just point out the spelling of Isabel. I use an A instead of an O, which would be the more typical British English way to spell the name. This is because I was living and working in the beautiful city of Granada in Andalusia at the time. Isabel was a Spanish lady. Although I write a lot of poetry about my job as a bus driver, and the events of this poem do take place on buses, this predates me being a driver. I was simply a passenger here. So the first line of the poem, when the girl who looked like Isabel gets on the bus, I'm just sitting on the back seat as a regular passenger. And what of the young lady herself in question, Isabel? Sadly, I have to report that Isabel isn't even her real name. I remember when I wrote this down, I changed her name because I had this irrational fear that if she ever read what I'd written, she would completely freak out. Why I thought that she would ever read anything that I'd written, I don't know. But I wasn't comfortable with using her real name. Sadly, I don't remember what her real name is. So I just hope that wherever she is in life now, someone has written her a poem that she loves and cherishes, because it's kind of sad to have a poem written about you that you have no knowledge of. The other sad thing is, although I seem to see this face everywhere I went for several weeks, I have no recollection whatsoever of what she looked like anymore. It's kind of sad, but there you go. What to make of the equilateral triangle thing and the references to geometry? Well, at the time, I was really getting into this idea of sacred geometry and the formation of the universe, and the triangle thing was simply a faithful recording of something I noticed at the time when the bus went past the real Isabel in the street. All right then, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. There is a copy of Isabel down in the description below. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed what you've heard. And until next time, take care and I'll see you soon. Bye.